always love it when Elemental Hero Prisma is an actual working card. So make sure you guys smash the living crap out of Prisma so you don't miss out more awesome content. Prisma has been one of my favorite cards ever since we saw players busting this out for the former lore deck that was Vice's Starfrost, because now we've got another contender within the metagame spotlight that is playing this, and it is actually our dear old friends out of Elven Notes. So Elven Notes has been kind of evolving with the times, and, you know, they don't necessarily need Medius the Pure, but, you know, he is an option to kind of help the deck along with its progression game plan, you know. It just is kind of what it is within everything within the lore does want to see some sort of Medius. So having, you know, Duoterion being able to have Prisma be, you know, the interaction. Now you got 6 copies of him within the deck. You can also play the Hero Lives if you wanted to within the deck as well. But Elven Notes just ends up being this synchro pile of good stuff that really starts to turn you on your face. And I kind of like that. I like that a lot. I've seen so many Elven Note decks. We've gone so far as to like build this into Centurion, you know, but recently the first of the builds coming out with Prisma has kind of felt like the new wave that players are trying. So for now, I want to say that Prisma has a place within this deck. I'm not expecting much of a counter to this. There might be some people that might try out some other things, but generally from what the meta is shaping up to, Elven Notes actually is a competitive strategy, which, against everybody's opinion, I mean, you've got enough good synchro, good stuff to kind of pull this together that, you know, it works out. Let's talk about Duoterion. Now, for those of you that have no idea what the heck this card is, Duoterion is the really off-the-wall card that had to do with the bonding H2O stuff. Now, this card does a couple of other things that you might not necessarily have expected it to, because it's just, you can discard, and it searches for a bonding spell and trap card. Alright, so the Magnet Warriors just got a bonding spell card. Yes, they did actually. That's the thing you care about with this. Also, if it's normal or special, you can target a Hydrogeddon, an Oxygeddon, or a Duoterion in your graveyard and special summon it. Technically, you could revive a copy of itself, which, the cool thing is, you know, I wish that this was an on-trigger ignition for the discard, but unfortunately it is not. There is some sort of balancing that Konami had to do with this to make it seem a little bit more fair. But this is a level 5, which means we can play this with Canine cards within the Magnet Warrior deck if we really wanted to. That's a lot of stuff to be building in to, you know, a pile. Or you could play more of an extensive dinosaur package if you wanted to. But Magnet Warriors, they're evolving, guys. This is a real thing now. Players are actually taking time out of their days and figuring out, oh, hey, there is something to this strategy. You know, we can test out this new idea. We can see a counterpoint to this. You know, it is actually coming together, I think, on one of the nicer scales. So didn't think I would see Duoterion being a real thing because of this, but I guess there had to be some splashability somewhere along the way. And then there's Majestic Star Dragon. I didn't think I would see talk about Majestic Star Dragon, but for those of you that don't know what the heck or this card does, I had to relook at this too. So it is a level 10, and it does have some of the stupidest summoning requirements, being the Majestic Star plus a Stardust plus a non-tuner. This thing requires 3 monsters to make it, but fear not, because we have Crimson Dragon. You just have to have another level 10 on the field to beam into this. But during either player's turn, when your opponent activates a card effect, you contribute this card to negate that activation, and if you do, destroy all cards your opponent controls. And then once your turn, you can target a face-up monster your opponent controls, negate its... Oh, no, excuse me. Monster your opponent controls. Negate its effects till the end of this turn. Then you can activate one of its effects as this card's effect once per turn. And then during the end phase, you can target a Stardust Dragon in your graveyard, return this card from the field to the extra deck, and then special summon that target. This is on a 3,800. You know, the fact that I have not seen anybody up to this stage abusing Crimson Dragon with this card is hilarious. But it's actually Elven Notes. That was the one that I've seen playing Crimson Dragon into the Majestic Star Dragon. Who would have thought, right? Having the ability to basically do a wipe against your opponent and on a negate and be able to negate something and use the effect as your own, I guess it would make sense that we have finally come far enough that having access to a Majestic Star Dragon makes sense. So, I guess, everybody, this is the sort of stuff that I look at that I'm happy to see within the game. I'm happy to see that players are looking at all of these odd choices and they're becoming real. And then we have the Humanoid slime. You have got to be kidding me. So, Humanoid slime. For this, the slime this slime apparently has some human genes in its own genetic makeup. So you're telling me here that this 802,000 has saw play? Yes. Yes, it has. This actually showed up, and I kid you not, a toolbox deck with Primite and Paleozoic cards. Because, you know, the 60 card reasoning decks in the OCG that just want to go ahead and go, wee, mill it all, is actually insane. But now this means that we're using this as our normal monster of choice. So anything that's going to require an Aqua or a level 4 water monster means that we have access to this. Why this and not like a Black Luster Soldier, for example, you know, just to have the bigger attacker? I think a lot of it's got to do with the reasoning interactions themselves. They want to be able to hit another 4, but also, I mean, you do want to have this be established, because the minute you slam down a reasoning, most of the decisions that players are going to call is going to be some extremely large number because they're going to be scared, or they're going to think level 1 because you're playing Infernoids, because you don't want the Decatron to come down. I mean, I too get scared of seeing these off of the wall, you know, large number monsters coming down. It's very typically what ends up happening. So at this stage in time, I think, you know, it's a cool idea if you want to play something Primite that might require, you know, some water interactions in general, but any vanilla monster that can have some time is looking pretty good. And then we return back to Doomsy. So Doomsy got their new support card in Burst Protocol, and a lot of us kind of had the same idea. You know, is this going to take off? Is this going to be something that's going to actually work? Given the new Foolish Burial actually destroys and then basically sends, does a lot for the deck. Enough that it has kind of woken up. Now, I've seen some off of the wall, like, combo hybrids that they're trying. You know, you're trying to build in, like, Fallen of Albaz, but, like, I don't know why you're trying to do that. Going with the 7 Tachyon stuff and obviously just Exceed locking yourself, I think, is the best thing that you can possibly do at this rate. You know, you want to keep the deck on the ground. You want to be able to access the standard degeneracy that the deck's going to. I mean, your game plan is to get to a rank 8 that's going to tell your opponent, no, you're not going to get to search. I mean, if your deck can put big boss monster on field with big floodgate effect, typically it ends up being a good idea. That's just how it works in modern era Yu-Gi-Oh! Any sort of no that you can put on your opponent usually is going to work out in your favor. So maybe it's just me. I've been following Doomsy for a little while. I love the way that the deck plays. I think it's exciting. And I think it is something that we really need to be looking at right now. You know, so what do you guys think about everything? Please comment down below, tell me what you guys think, and I'll see your beautiful faces back here later in the day, guys. Patrons, thank you.
Thank you so much for watching. Check out these other videos.